Behind me is a niche deal that was actually a pre-foreclosure probate combo. In this video, I'm going to go over how we found the deal, how I communicated with the seller, some numbers on the deal, and perhaps some different lessons that I learned along the way. So this was actually a house that we door knocked. It's about an hour outside of Kansas City, so no one else took the time to come out here. My acquisitions guy came, he noticed that the house was completely vacant, but there happened to be a note on the front door from a lady named Tiffany. And it said, call me if there's any questions about the house. So my acquisitions guy called, had a conversation with her, and she was actually the caretaker of the homeowner as he was going through hospice and passed away, and then she stayed here for about a year. Well, the heir was a son that lived about 30 minutes north of here, and she gave us the address of his house, and then my acquisitions guy followed up with the lead, went to that house and left a sticky note and actually had a conversation from the seller there. So first lesson you need to learn with these niche deals is they aren't just gonna fall out of the sky and everything come together. You're gonna have to take different steps. For this one, we had to take the initiative of door knocking the house, finding a note, calling a seller, having a conversation, and figuring out where we needed to go next to track down that lead. So you're gonna have to do things that other people don't want to do to be able to buy these houses at a discount that no one else can. So the sellers contacted me, we set up an appointment for later that week, but there was actually a little wrinkle. Both of these sellers were 100% deaf, so it made communication a little bit different. So in these situations, you're gonna have to be flexible, you're gonna see new things that you haven't ever seen before. And in this instance, I wasn't quite sure how to communicate with them without a translator present. Fortunately, I had a notebook in the car, and we just went back and forth. I would write my question, they would write their answer. We went back and forth and had an entire conversation until they were ready to move forward with a contract. So in addition to learning how to communicate with sellers that are deaf, I learned a lot of other things along the way on this deal. For example, I learned about surplus funds from foreclosure sales. I also learned about redemption rights and how that works in the state of Kansas. So let's go ahead and head back to the office. I'll break down this on the whiteboard so you can see all the numbers and the whole scenario. So when I got this deal under contract, like I had said before, I was working with some deaf people. It was really challenging, and they were kind of distanced from the property. They did not live there, they hadn't been there in years, and really at the end of the day, all they wanted to net was $20,000. That's what we agreed upon. So for round numbers, they owed $40,000 on this property. I was gonna give them 20 on top of that for a total of 60. Well, I went ahead and filed the probate motion, went through all that with my attorney, everything appeared good, we filed that motion with the county. Well then for whatever reason, the lender just would not accept that. And this was one of the first times that a house that I had a contract on that was in pre-foreclosure actually got foreclosed on. So what I decided to do is go to the foreclosure sale and try to win it there since I wasn't gonna be able to stop the sale. Well, I went to the foreclosure sale, and the guy that ended up winning the sale ended up paying $100,000 for the property. Now, most of you are probably wondering, well, if someone else bought it at the sale, isn't that the end of the game? Well, in different states, there's different rules. And in Kansas, which this property is in Kansas, you have what are called redemption rights. And during that period, whoever holds the redemption rights has between 3 and 12 months, depending on the situation, to pay off that note and reclaim the property. So what I did, since I had such a good relationship with that seller, I went to them and I offered him to buy the redemption rights. Basically, you can pay someone to have them notarize a document that transfers those redemption rights over to you. So I paid that $5,000 and I sent that over to the title company, and I tried to clarify, what exactly does this document do? What does a redemption right allow me to do in terms of the property? Well, it allows me to rent the property out, I could live there, I could renovate the property. Basically anything that the homeowner can do, it would allow me to do. But what was news to me was that I could actually file for what is called surplus overages. What is a surplus overage? They owed $40,000 on this property. The foreclosure sale winning bid was $100,000. you can see there's a difference between there of $60,000. Now, the homeowner is actually entitled to that money. They have to go through a court process and request that money to go to them, which most people don't do. But what I didn't know was that if you own the redemption rights, you actually have the ability to request that surplus for yourself. So my title company filed that motion to get that surplus money. It was approved. Now, what was my purchase price? There's a lot going on here, so let's just work our way through this. The foreclosure sale bid winner paid $100,000. He's going to have to get that amount at least, plus interest. So when these people win these bids, they don't just lose out on that money and don't get paid for it. They get paid somewhere around 6% on their money. And the amount of time that he held it, he actually was going to get $4,000 for his time. So you know the bid has to be, or the final price has to be at least 100 plus 4 plus the redemption rights. So our cost basis to this point is $109K, but we get to cash in on that surplus. So you get to subtract out that $60,000 in overages. What is that, Austin?
49.
Okay, so our entry price into this property is $49,000. And that doesn't mean much to you until you know what the ARV is. The ARV of this property is somewhere in the ballpark of $350,000. Now, obviously, that's a huge spread between here and here. And you might be thinking, well, Michael, you always want to do the right thing by the seller. And apparently the seller's only getting $5K. That kind of seems like a raw deal. And if I left it as it was, you would be right. So out of this surplus $60,000, technically, that is the seller's money. Now, I have the right to it legally, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of that money, $30,000, and give that to the seller in addition to that 5. By the way, at the time of recording this, he has no idea that I'm going to do it. At some point, we'll do a follow-up video to where I surprise him with that extra $30,000. Hopefully it'll really change their life, but the seller will get $35,000. So if you do the math, add that $30,000 to our total, we're more like $79K into the deal. So went out, look at the house. We're probably about, give or take, $60,000 into the rehab. So let's figure out what our potential profit would be. So you have what we're into the property, $79K plus $60K. Oh, we're doing math again. This is why I'm not a math teacher anymore and I'm in real estate. 139. Our ARV is this. So it's safe to say we'll have about a $211,000 gross profit. Now you do have to take out your real estate commissions, money to your lenders, etc. But it's safe to say, let's just say at the end of the day, you make $175K. That's a huge profit. But does that profit happen if I don't know the law in my state? No, it doesn't. Because I would have gotten that contract with the seller. It would have got rejected through probate process. It would have gotten foreclosed on. I would have given up at that point. But I knew that there were redemption rights. And I was able to go redeem that property, get that under contract with the seller again. And then I learned even more. I picked the brain of my title company, and they said, hey, Michael, you can actually get surplus on this. So just by knowing wrinkles, I was able to not only redeem the property, collect surplus on the property, which led me to making this really, really nice profit. So knowing the laws of your state, knowing how to go after niche lists, and knowing how to help these sellers and walk it all the way through the process enables you to unlock huge profits like this. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I don't need to make $175,000 on a deal. No, you don't. But you just need to get that first deal. But how would $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 impact your life or your family's life? It would be huge. So if you want to learn more about these type of deals, how to find niche deals in terms of pre-foreclosures, probate, eviction, divorce, any of those types of things, follow this channel and we'll keep sending you good videos.